Hey guys, it's Jenna. Today on our podcast, we are going to be interviewing our turnkey Amazon PPC expert, Nolan, just chatting about some different things, different tools he is seeing in Amazon's PPC platform and how you guys should be responding to it. Let's go ahead and jump into it. We are going to be talking a little bit about PPC, and that's why I have Nolan here. So obviously, one of the big things that comes up with PPC on Amazon is they're always updating new things, right? Which makes it incredibly challenging for brands to keep up with what is going on Amazon's PPC platform. And, the reason why this is so important to talk about is the reality is because they're always changing their platform, adding new things. It's really important you're staying on top of it, because if you're not, your competitors are. They're taking advantage of those new opportunities. So it's crucial that we talk about your best approach to staying on top of it. And of course, talking about the new installments to Amazon's PPC platform. So in order to chat about this today, I have brought on our PPC expert here at TurnKey, Nolan. So, hey, Nolan, what's up? Thank you so much for hopping on today.
Hey. Awesome. Yeah, super happy to be here.
I know. No, it's awesome. I'm excited. So obviously you guys can be submitting questions to Nolan and I throughout this video, but obviously I've got some questions for Nolan just on how to approach this. So, Nolan, obviously Amazon, they're always adding new tools, new features, new additions, right? So how often do you suggest brands keep up with that? And how do you suggest they keep up with those new additions to Amazon's PPC platform?
Yeah, this is a great question. And this is really the crux of, being successful on Amazon. It's really important that you're aware of these new features, you're using them, you're testing them. And what we like to do is, for all our PPC managers here at TurnKey, we assign them, 30 minutes to an hour a week, just doing research and looking at some top blogs and, top influencers in this space. You really want to be spending a little bit of time each week, looking through different blogs and things like that about Amazon advertising, and also just following the top leaders as well. There's one other kind of shortcut that people can try and use if they don't like doing that. You can also set up a Google alert, and what that is essentially an alert that you set up based on certain keywords. So you could set an alert. I personally have one for Amazon advertising updates, things like that. You can set up a few different ones. And what it'll do is just consolidate all of the major articles or, resources that have been posted within the past week for that term, and just send it to your email. So that's a little bit of a shortcut. Oftentimes doing that, you get a little bit more of like news stuff, but that's a good method as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great tip. So that's Google Alerts, guys. That's something you guys want to check out. That basically Google will take care of that for you. And if you guys don't feel that you're technologically savvy enough to take care of that or what have you, a couple of other things, just like Nolan said, just scheduling out those 30 minutes. And we use Asana for that, or Google Calendar. So just quick tips there on how to get that done.
And then one other quick thought is that, we release what's new on Amazon every week. Finding people who are doing this, come to us. Obviously, we want that, but there's also other people doing, regular Amazon updates. So find maybe 2 different places that are posting these things regularly, and just let them kind of figure out the most important stuff and share it with you.
Totally, yeah, that's great advice. That's awesome. So another thing, Nolan, that we get a lot of here at TurnKey is they're like, yeah, that's great that, we have seen this cool update, this new feature on PPC, but what's the next step? What should someone do as soon as they see a new feature has popped up on Amazon's PPC platform?
Yeah, so, I always recommend, if you see a new feature, hopping on Google and figuring out what's going on. When was it released? Does anybody have case studies or anything about that feature? So that's a good first step. You definitely want to be testing new features in almost all cases. It is very important to get that first mover advantage. and be on top of these updates on Amazon, because it is a very competitive marketplace. There are people from all over the world competing for the same limited amount of attention. It is, a big amount of attention on Amazon, obviously, but it is important to take action quickly to keep that first mover advantage. And I always recommend not necessarily, you don't want to launch, if you see a new feature, you don't want to launch, big campaign with a massive budget and, high bids on the keywords and things like that. Start small, prove the concept, and then scale up from there.
Definitely. So, you brought up a good point there, testing out the concept. So what should that look like, right? So when they're testing out this new feature, should they expand their budgets? Should they turn off some of the stuff that's working? What do you suggest when testing out these new features?
So it does depend on, what it is and the situation. For example, with the sponsored brand video that's been rolled out pretty aggressively this year, definitely recommend being fairly aggressive with that, because we are at a point where it's been around for a little bit. We've seen that there's some really great results coming on here. So I would say it's fine to be a little bit more aggressive in that case. And launch new campaigns. If you are looking to scale up your budget and your ad spend, increasing it for these new campaigns would be probably a good option. If you kind of just want to maintain the level of spend and try and improve performance, then I would just allocate the budget from your existing, budget pool and start, like I said, I wouldn't say more than 10 or 20% of your budget. That would probably be even high for an initial test, and then going from there.
Gotcha. That's really great advice. So, they've decided, they're going to do about 10% of that budget towards that new feature. How long do you suggest brands test out these different features and ad types? Do you think they need to set, because obviously it is important to have a short leash in these situations. So You suggest they set that before they get into it, or what would be your advice there when testing these out?
So, you don't want to be too stringent on these campaigns initially, because it does take a little bit of time to get the campaigns, launched, and sometimes Amazon will take a few days to kind of let things optimize and let their algorithms do their work to figure out, where we should be showing these ads. But in general, you also don't want to be, just spending all kinds of money and not really watching it and saying, oh, it's a new feature, so it's just a test. I would check in whenever we launch something new, even if it's, not even a new feature, just a new campaign. We're always checking that within, 48 hours just to see initially, what's going on here. And then usually we don't make changes after that, short of a time period. But after a week or so, you can get a feel for, all right, this seems like it's going to be winter, or, this isn't doing anything really. So I would say let things run for at least a week before making any significant adjustments. Mm-hmm. But one thing I mentioned, and this is an important point, you don't want to be launching these new features or new campaigns even with really aggressive bids to start with. If you are, fairly, if your ACoS is a big priority, mm-hmm. Definitely start with a little bit more conservative bids, like even on the lower end of the suggested bid. That way, if things aren't going well, you're not going to be spending a ton of money and you're going to be paying less for each click. So that's what I recommend.
Definitely. Yeah, that's really helpful. So, obviously here at TurnKey, we work across a ton of different niches, different categories, different mm-hmm. products, different brands, right? And you're involved with every single account. So, from your perspective, is every ad type a slam dunk for every single brand you work with, or is it going to differ brand to brand?
Yeah, it absolutely differs brand to brand. Just off the top of my head, we're working with a sunglass company, and things like just an image of a sunglass isn't necessarily a great selling point, which is why video has worked so well for this company. Mm-hmm. So yeah, depending on your situation, even depending on how active your competitors are and how on top of the ball your competitors are, you definitely want to be one step ahead of your competitors. And that's even a good way to take a look at what kinds of things you should be doing if you're in, a marketplace with, existing leaders there, trying to get a feel for what different features and things are being used by these bigger companies and how you can leverage that.
Right. So I guess kind of piggybacking off of that conversation, talking about video for that one specific client, do you feel though the quality of the asset, whether that's videos or that's images for the ads, really determine how successful an ad is?
Yeah, it's super important, I would say. Generally on Amazon, it is a cost per click basis. So we're paying when someone sees an ad and is already showing some sort of interest and clicks. That's when we're paying.
Right.
As opposed to like a Facebook where you're paying whether or not they click on it because you're paying by the impression. Right. So I would say it's more important on a CPM platform like Facebook or even Amazon DSP, which is also a Amazon platform that does run on CPM. So I would say it's even more important and more critical with the impression-based platforms. Seller Central, as we mentioned, is a cost per click based platform. So it's not quite as important, but still extremely important. And you definitely want to be trying a few different creatives and seeing if you can judge what's moving the needle.
Definitely. Yeah, that's great. So, obviously we're talking about really right now, we're talking about sponsored brand ads because there's more flexibility with it, new things. So I know that they have come out with a few new programs, and the one we wanted to talk about today was custom images. So why don't you tell us a little bit about custom images?
Yeah, so this is a pretty exciting little feature. It's not like a major rollout like video was, but it is a pretty impactful feature, I believe. And what this does is it allows you to set a custom image along with the sponsored brand campaigns. So what this does is, as you know, when you make a search on Amazon, there is at the top usually it's 3 different items with a headline, and that's the sponsored brand placement. And now you can actually see if you're searching on mobile that oftentimes, if these companies are staying on the ball with the new features, you can actually add an image block at the top. And this can be any image you want. It can't be like, can't be a single product shot. So something more like a lifestyle image or something a little bit more fun and eye-catching. Not necessarily like an image with like a headline on it and a call to action. That's not what this is for. This is more just kind of adding an image that sort of fits the look and feel of your brand and in the message, the feel you want people to feel when they see it, you see and use your product. And there's a couple things that I think is really interesting about this. One is that it takes up more space. So if you have been around in digital marketing for a while, referring to the above the fold of the page is really important. It's something that people who do conversion rate optimization on websites are talking about all the time. It's that above the fold, which comes from the newspaper industry. What's above the fold on the newspaper? It's the same online, right? People see things more often that are at the top of the page, and most people, oftentimes will leave a page before scrolling down. So it takes up more of that above the fold space with this custom image. And as a result, aside from, getting a little bit more branding, being a little bit more eye-catching, this pushes everything else down lower. So you're taking up more of that above this fold space. Your competitors are going to be lower down on the page. And yeah, overall, this is a really exciting feature, in my opinion. It's currently only on mobile, but judging by what we've seen with the video in search sponsored brand ad type, they initially rolled it out on mobile only, and then now, as you know, it's on desktop as well. So that's probably what we're going to see here over the next few months. I suspect this is going to be a staple of the sponsored brand campaigns, and we'll just continue to see it get rolled out across more placements.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. So, I mean, tons of great information here today. Really appreciate it. But before we head off, one thing I've noticed pretty much this last, maybe Q1, and then obviously we're in Q2. So throughout these 2 quarters here, they've been rolling out a ton on the Amazon PPC platform, just tons of different options and opportunities. In your opinion, like, where do you think we're heading next? And then what do you think this actually means for Q4? Do you think this is ramping up to be able to be used for that? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we're actually starting to test creating specific campaigns for different holidays and things like that using this sponsored image. We have a client who just recently finished up some new lifestyle shots with like an American flag in the background. So we're going to be setting that up for the 4th of July, obviously, just to see, is there any way that we can use this to get more traction aside from just setting it up and leaving it. So that's one thing to consider. But yeah, I would say, and just to circle back there, maybe, for Christmas, if you could have something with like a Christmas tree or a present with a bow or something like that to really hit home, like, this is a great gift, that kind of thing. Definitely a lot of good options there. Overall, though, you're right. Amazon's launching a ton of things on Seller Central and the Amazon demand side platform. Overall, in Q4, and even we were seeing this trend last year, I think more and more these competitors, these leaders on Amazon are getting more into really looking at the full funnel of Amazon. So using things like Amazon attribution to test, outside traffic sources and be able to track metrics there. Using DSP to retarget people who have been to your listing. Using DSP to increase subscriptions for people who have purchased in the past. We're not just looking at the top of the funnel here, and we're really moving into a more sophisticated environment for advertising. And it's definitely concerning for these people who have been kind of just getting by, trying to handle the PPC themselves and aren't necessarily having bad results, but they're not having great results either. We talk to people every day that are in that situation, and they're a business owner. They're like, yeah, I've been kind of doing this myself and it's been fine. But definitely, I think it is more competitive. Highly recommend if anybody's watching this now, reach out to us. We do free, strategy sessions with anybody on Amazon. We'll take a look at your account, what you're running in your account, and just give you some advice. And if you'd like to work with us, great. If not, you could just run with that and do it yourself. So that's kind of just some thoughts on the overall environment.
Definitely. Yeah, that was super helpful. I mean, this whole thing was really great. And just like Nolan said, guys, we are here to help you. So if you have questions, and I mean, I agree with Nolan in the sense that Amazon is getting more sophisticated. You can no longer get by just setting up an automatic and manual campaign and maybe a sponsored brand ad. That's not how it works anymore. So now is the time to get sophisticated with it, right? And bring in an expert. So reach out to our team and let's see how we can help you. Head to turnkeyproductmanagement.com/talk to get in touch with us. But other than that, guys, that's all Nolan and I have for you today. Thank you guys all so much. And Nolan, thank you. You're a rock star. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today on this podcast, where we chatted with Nolan just about the different things you guys should be looking out for while doing PPC in Seller Central. Now, as Nolan talked about today, guys, Amazon's PPC platform is becoming much more sophisticated. So it is crucial that you guys are always keeping up with the latest. So reach out to our team to see how we can help you by going to turnkeyproductmanagement.com/talk. We'll see you guys there.